Tracy Silverman. Thanks for tuning in to the For the Greater Groove podcast, a special edition.
Woo.
Woo! Yes, why is this night different from all other nights, as we say at the Seder table?
Yeah.
Because of this guy right here, Darol Anger, my big brother,
Oh,
my old friend. Oh my goodness.
So great to be here, man.
Here in Nashville.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a special video version.
Yeah. We're in the same room.
Yeah. We can actually jam together. It's not a Zoom thing.
It's not a Zoom thing. Yeah.
What's the opposite of Zoom?
Really snaily, kind of slow.
Moose, I guess.
Yeah, moose. It's a moose.
It's a moose session that we're doing. And Darol Anger, for the maybe one person out there who is watching who doesn't know who Darol is.
And it's important that one person knows. Darn it.
But it's really important that everybody remembers all of the stuff that Darol has done. I'm gonna do this bio, and you're gonna help me with your bio because you're right here.
Sure.
So why should I just screw it up and with you sitting there going, right? Because I know your bio pretty well. It's been a long,
Plenty. I mean, you don't really have room for that.
I'm even a small part of a small part of it.
Gigantic. I mean, you're bigger than
in the TISQ years.
Probably should know, actually. Yeah. But,
so, Grisman was your first gig, right? A founding.
Yeah, that was the real gig. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of was the first thing, and then that kind of morphed into Montreux. We're going to do the abridged.
Yeah, Montreux band.
Take a real quick.
Yeah, we had a sort of proto-mantra that included David Balakrishnan and Mike Marshall.
I didn't know David.
Barbara Higbee. Yeah, so that was cool. That was I was playing a lot of cello, bass.
See, there's always something I'm learning.
Yeah, something
from
weird.
This guy.
Yeah, not that it
was that the Great American Music.
No, we were calling that embarrassingly, but it was Dave's idea to call it Sahib. Because of I don't know why, but yeah. But that was a good band. We were experimenting with trying to figure out how to play real jazz on acoustic string instruments.
And that was with Mike Marshall.
Yeah, Mike came in we had a couple of different mandolin players. Mike
Interesting.
Showed up at the end, and then that morphed into Montreux.
Right, with Barbara.
Yeah.
And Michael Mannering.
Michael Mannering showed up for that, and that was great.
I should probably turn off my phone for this, huh?
It's probably Michael Mannering calling saying, "When are you going to mention me?"
We just did, Michael. Stop calling.
Stop calling me.
I'm going to really turn this off.
Yeah, Michael would probably be the last. Obviously, that's a joke because Michael would be the last person.
Yes, Michael is humble to the bone.
Humble to the bone, yeah.
He's incredibly wonderful bass player.
We're going to eliminate that whole mention of him because it would just make him uncomfortable.
Too much attention.
Yeah, right.
We'll edit this up. You'll never see any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We'll and then that moved into the Turtle Island, one of the founding members right here.
Yeah. Myself, David, and Mark Summer. Yeah, didn't really become Turtle Island until Mark showed up.
Right. Yeah. You gotta have a cellist in a quartet. It's pretty
important.
Central.
Yeah.
For a string quartet.
That thing, and luckily he showed up.
Yeah, and then post TISQ, a bunch of projects.
Yeah, Katie barred the door. It was just like whatever.
Public of Strings, Psychographs
that was important. Public of Strings.
Yeah,
the ongoing duo was Mike Marshall.
Right.
That went on and 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 on.
And still is
going on. We just released a 41-year anniversary recording. And kind of cool.
Wow.
So what else? Yeah, and then like the Furies, and that was mostly me and a lot of really great women musicians. Emmy Phelps, Sharon Gilchrist, Maeve Gilchrist. At one point, the Furies included 2 Gilchrists. My life is rich in
related.
Gilchrists.
I'm assuming.
Well, very distantly. They can't find a common ancestor. Although I'm sure
No
there is
way.
one. Yeah,
That's
it's kind of
so
wild.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah, we had
okay, the Furies, and then there's Fiddler's Four.
Fiddler's Four, right? I almost forgot about that. Yeah, it was Michael Doucet and Bruce
Yeah.
Molsky and Rushad Eggleston.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back when Rushad was, could be understood.
Before he was speaking only
Only in
in
whatever it was. Yeah,
Sneed.
Sneed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snaps,
The
whatever
ca-
it
he
was.
has a translator that travels with him so that
Yeah,
we can
it's
communicate.
called it's called a cello.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
his bridge to humanity.
Yeah.
And
Rushad's
anything else on my notes?
Oh,
Mr.
man.
Sun.
Oh, Mr. Sun, right. My
Right.
current group, which is lovely and
Yeah.
quite interesting. Just kind of sort of back to the roots of what I did. Mandolin, guitar, fiddle, and bass, which is pretty much the original, setup for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so. That's not. It's not exactly difficult.
Yeah, it's
for me.
like a Grisman quartet.
Yeah, which we did have it for a while,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
And of course, a professor at Berkeley.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, I like that. That was nice. Yeah, I was a professor at Berkeley for almost 12 years, and that was amazing.
You always wanted to be a professor. When we were in Turtle Island,
Yeah.
you were kind of the professor.
Well, sort
But,
of, according to some people. Yeah. I was
You were saying,
professing
like,
a lot.
you know.
Yeah, right. I was professing all over the place, actually.
You were
Yeah.
very professional.
Everybody was professing.
We were all professional.
Yeah.
We just weren't. We didn't all become professors.
Right,
So.
yeah. I mean, although we could.
We were so close.
You were doing some
How did
stuff,
we know-
though. You're here at Belmont.
Yes.
You're professing.
I am
over at
professing
Belmont
occasionally.
University, yeah.
And you're also professing at Artist Works. You do a lot.
That is true. I have an online
professing
music fiddle school that, is still going.
Yeah,
and
what's that
probably
about?
still going.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Right now.
Right
Still
at
going.
this
Yeah.
moment.
Now.
Right.
How about now? Yes.
Someone
going.
right now is making a video to send to you.
Send to me that I will personally evaluate and send them back and say, practice. No, it's
I always
actually
thought
wonderful.
I always thought that practicing is cheating because anybody can do it if you practice, right?
I'm
Maybe not.
I'm not totally sure about that, man. I don't know. It's I have practiced, and there are things that I cannot do. But maybe I was just practicing the wrong way. I don't know. It's hard to say. But there are things that I have practiced that do work, and there's things that I don't practice that seem to work.
Also work.
It's a mystery. Who can tell?
So it's not really proven. Practice is not yet proven. It's
don't
still
know.
a hypothesis, but we're going to go with it. We're going to
Yeah,
go with
let's
it
go
'cause
with
it's, yeah, the odds are pretty good
Yeah.
of improvement. So for you students out there. And what are we gonna talk about today? I mean,
Well,
we got Darol Anger. We've got a show about grooving and chopping and playing rhythm.
maybe we better talk about that stuff.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. We have plenty of people that are, just doing it. It seems to be even in Celtic music. It's
Yeah.
caught on.
Yeah.
And it's really a beautiful thing. And it certainly is. I think the initial, kind of unsightly bulge of chopping is sort of kind of settled, to the where it becomes, okay, well, it's just another technique that we use and string playing at the appropriate time.
Right.
So
Just
that's
a,
great.
Just a bow. It's just like.
But people are still wanting to know, well, how do you do it? Is it like, and people do it differently.
I got to say, one of the interesting things, sorry to interrupt you there, hold that thought, but I found it really interesting as I talk to people on this podcast about this kind of stuff that everybody approaches it a little differently.
That is true, yeah.
It's really interesting. There are so many ways to approach this and just ways to teach it. Mm-hmm. Like I have my little system.
Yeah.
Casey has a way. Mike Block was on. It's like front, forward, middle, front. It's like, oh, okay, I never thought of that. It's like,
wild,
I picked that up from Casey. I'm like, oh, okay. So I learned it from you. So I feel like
You had to. I mean, it was part of the gig.
it was part of the gig because when I showed up at the
Yeah.
Turtle Island doorstep. one day.
Yeah.
And with like one of these.
That was
right?
amazing. Yeah, and then you proceeded to set, borrowed a violin, and you aced every, that was my moment of like going, okay, oh, there are people in this world that play the violin better than I will ever imagine playing.
Differently.
Yeah, but different but better.
No.
But I learned a lot from you. I know that you probably learned quite a bit from me, and we both learned from each other.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
When that can happen.
And yeah, it really it's very true. And I refer to you as my big brother a lot, as you know, which
That's so sweet.
and it probably annoys the crap out of you.
Oh,
but
not at all.
Because you taught me everything. You not only taught me how to chop, you taught me how to how to pack for the road. I'd been just doing like bar gigs in New York and stuff, and this was my first big break, and you showed me the ropes,
Cool.
just about everything about it, how to tour, how to play, how to chop, how to be in a quartet.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, you had so much together.
None of it really stuck.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the things that you are capable of doing, you've gone on to just incredible things that I can only dream of doing, and it's so great. I mean, because you're Tracy. You've always been like, yourself, and it was always obvious that you would, just do amazing stuff.
Thank you so much. But here's the thing. So you kind of learned the chop. Did you actually learn it from Richard, or just sort of?
Yeah, I
picked
did
it up?
actually. Yeah, I took a lesson from Richard.
So he actually like showed.
I said, Richard, that thing you do, what the heck is it? And I might have been patient. I mean, if Richard was patient 0 because he invented it, I was patient number 1. Yeah,
Right.
patient number 1. And then I did that for a couple of years, and then I think I taught Dave Balakrishna how to do it.
Right.
And,
Because the idea of Turtle Island was to not have drums.
Right. Yeah, we wanted to. We needed. If you're going to play contemporary music has percussion, has drums. You got to put that in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just a string section.
So you were sort of on this mission to teach the quartet first how to do that.
Yeah, and of course, Dave was, it took him a couple of months, but like he totally got it, and it was great. And then Mark actually really ran with it and just developed into like a whole comprehensive technique
with the pits and slapping,
tapping. That was neat because we were in the same, we were in the Bay Area, which at that point, had and Michael Hedges was there. Michael Mannering was there, all the tapping guys. There was two very important tapping guys.
Right.
So Mark picked up on that immediately. And
interesting. I never put that together.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fantastic, because Michael was over, quite a bit, at the house. Yeah, I remember sitting there with Barbara and Mike Marshall, just, he came out, we had food, and then he said, I want to play this new tune I just wrote. I'm really excited about it. I think it's really cool. And we're just sitting there in my living room listening to Michael play Rickover's Dream, which is for those of you who are into like tapping guitar. Yeah, it's a revelation. Yeah, it's a classic. It's like
it's like Eddie Van Halen Eruption. For the Windham Hill crowd.
Yeah, something like that in slow motion.
Yeah, backwards
and in heels. And like it's an acoustic guitar. So. That's everything. It's all in the air anyway. I think that the idea that you could play percussion on any string instrument. So that just became more of a thing for us, and that became a very important piece of the Turtle Island puzzle. Yeah. And so when you came in, that was.
I mean that was the first thing.
You could do everything else, there's just this one little thing, you have to be able to do like a totally different, totally unfamiliar technique.
And it took me a couple months. It took me a while.
Yeah.
It took me a while, maybe more, till, and I think the entire time I was in the group, I was always being tweaked. I was always, the guy's like, don't forget to like keep pushing it, don't hang back. You always got to push the beat, like that. Like Danny would always tell me, like, no, you gotta push it, and
because there's nobody else pushing it for you.
Right, because
nobody else is gonna push it for you. You got to do it by yourself.
But so now when I teach it to students, I teach the Darol Anger method of chop, the way you taught me. And I remember you taught me, and I'll bet you don't teach it the same way now, because I'm sure you have progressed.
I probably,
since that was
probably
1993.
learned how to teach it, on you and a couple other people.
Right. Well, that's for you students out there. That's how us teachers get better at what we do. We practice on you guys.
It's so true.
Right?
And, really, can you really say you know something until you've taught it? That is such a
Leonard
thing.
Bernstein said the best way to learn is to teach.
There you go. Yeah. And
I think he said that. He should have said that.
He should have said it. You probably would have.
He would have if he'd have thought of it. So. and so, I teach like the 5 rules of the chop. It's all the way at the frog. You turn the hair out. You keep your hand loose. That was actually a rule.
Relaxation.
Number 3. Number 4, you dampen your strings. And number 5, leave it on the string. I remember you said, leave it on the string because you got to. And when we would do like high school things, and you would, you would always go through the same. So that's the way I teach it. But I'll bet you,
cool.
I bet you have an improvement on that now.
I've sort of reversed it, because the leave it on the string part
Yes.
is the part that always.
I remember you said this, and I was like, God darn it, he's made it better, and now I got to write another book.
Start.
Right.
This is your rest position on the string.
And
Your first stroke.
Right.
Which is kind of a drag, because
It's
I used to say, according to Newton, what goes down must come up. And now I can't say that anymore. I just have to because what comes up must come down,
which
right?
Is
which
actually
is,
what Newton
which is
said.
Who cares? I mean, that's obvious, isn't it? Right? So but that's cool. So that's my one thing. Trying to get people to leave the bow on the string is
hard.
Always,
right? Because you want to slap
they want to bounce it off, right? Because that's the way you do it, isn't it?
Right.
But it's not. You've taken it. So because you've come up with like this incredible, teaching tradition, and you just got a mind for it. This great analytical mind. You were able to put this book together that I never could have even imagined.
I see my small place in the world as transferring the things that are in your brain to other people. But here's the thing about the chop. It's a stroke. Yes, we can show people how to do the stroke. But as we all know, a chop stroke is not a chop groove.
So true.
And you turned it into a rhythmic thing. So it's like, rather than having a drum that you can hit, now you have a drum kit, and you're like, Steve Gadd or whatever.
Well, it's limited, but you can, the idea that, all of this stuff is useless if you're just making sound. Anybody can make noise. You could even make a regular occurring sound, periodically precise, but is it going to move? Is it going to make you want to tap your foot? Is it going to make is it going to make you want to go back and forth? It's going to make you want to flop around on the floor like a fish, in the immortal words of Bonnie Raitt. That's what we want.
That's what we want.
Right?
So give them a little demonstration.
And I was really privileged to be able to teach a rhythm strings class in Berkeley, where I was forced to deal with this stuff and delve in a little more closely, rather than just take an intuitive approach.
Right.
Tracy, I've got an idea.
Yeah?
Let's play a classic New Orleans second line hit by the Meters. Let's play.
See if I know
that tune. Yes, one of them.
Sissy Strut.
The Sissy Strut.
Sissy
Yeah.
Strut.
One of the great features of this tune is that it's in C7.
C7. I knew that song. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that chord.
That is the chord. That is the one chord that you need to know in order to do this one. And just by some crazy miracle, I happen to have a C string on this instrument.
Go figure.
Yeah, weird, huh? Yeah. So, right? Take it, Tracy!
Yeah, man.
Yeah, baby. All right.
Oh,
that's so much
man.
fun. Yeah, all right.
It's
Yeah.
too long, man. It's been way
I
too
know.
long.
Yeah, we gotta do more of this. Man, okay, so yeah, C strut. Yeah, just the idea that okay, so you can't be the cymbals and you can't be the bass drum. Well, you could be a little bit of a bass drum. Yeah, that's nice. If you can really coordinate all of your hands, again, something that Mark, if you've got a cello,
Yeah.
You got a lot of extra
Low end.
firepower, that you can deploy. if you're into deploying.
If you like to deploy.
But basically, what you got is hi-hat and snare. And
Right.
if you know anything about drum kit, which I did have a drum kit in my house for a couple of years, and that was incredibly instructive.
Yeah, I bet.
The idea that the groove comes, is generally generated within the drum kit by those two instruments. The snare and the hi-hat are kind of the things that sort of are always going and sort of defining the sub-rhythms, like you're talking about. What do you call that? The inner
Groove-ons.
The groove-ons, yes.
The smallest
the
particle
smallest
of the
rhythmic
groove.
particles, of the groove. That's so great. And so
But
that's
it's all about the
so that's
subdivision, yeah.
really so that's what you need. You got hi-hat and snare. And then you can add, notes, which is great. Yeah. And you can add and you've got that systematized so beautifully. That idea that the constant up down.
Yeah,
is where
motor.
it all comes
It's like
out.
motor.
Yeah,
which I picked up from guitar players, because that's the way they teach. That's the way guitar teachers teach guitar players. Like, just keep the motor going. But let me ask you something about the vertical versus horizontal aspect of what you're doing.
I love that. That you also identified that. Which is really cool. Because that's the way that you showed people how they could get into it, and that is such a great thing. The idea that. This is all. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the strumming, right? You go in horizontal, right? Correct bowing technique.
Right.
You don't go.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because of the ghosting.
Yeah.
All of the ghosting.
Yeah, and I've been experimenting with that lately, especially in my fiddle school, where kind of identifying that idea that to get the ghosting, you're actually making circles.
That's what you wrote about in my book.
Yeah.
Bow circles.
And I'm really, I'm actually getting a whole lesson series together within my online school right now.
Very
It's
interesting.
Just developing that. I'm writing some goofy little tunes.
See, now, here's another perfect
Right.
example of something I never would have thought of. Probably because I come from a classical background, and this was just never even.
Nobody wanted
I
to
didn't
know
even
about
occur.
that.
It never occurred to me. It was always back and forth. None of this.
Yeah.
But rather than my approach was always ghosting either with your left hand or with lightening up pressure. It never occurred to me that
That's
this
so interesting.
actually naturally makes that happen, and yet that's a kind of a fiddle thing, or is that your own
I think
thing?
it's a fiddle thing, you see, especially in the Appalachian styles, because there's a lot of that kind of, in order, people don't actually necessarily they don't use the pinched in order to, because you can do that. I mean, that's a pretty standard thing where you're, like, it's involved, Vivaldi and everything. Right?
The martelet.
There's part
correct,
martelet.
whatever,
It's really
yeah.
what it is. There's a pinch where you're and that can be used. But the Appalachian folks will do that as sort of waving your arm up and down.
Interesting.
The wave,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like figure eight bowing.
Right.
I'm not that great at it yet, but I'm working.
So interesting.
But that sort of translates into the that just becomes figure eight. I mean, the simpler version has circles, so you get bows. That's kind of so that's what I've been sort of working on, is trying to and again, anything that keeps your wrist relaxed, freed up, keeps this whole assembly flexible and active.
It was one of the 5 rules.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
On the tablets.
Yeah.
That were handed
That's
down.
interesting. Yeah, and at one point I'd love to have a conversation. Maybe not in this podcast, but just about how, in like legit violin playing, where the where the difference is between the wrist and fingers following the arm, right, and where the wrist and fingers start initiating stuff.
Interesting.
Because there's that's you're always going back and forth over that line.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm a real wrist and finger guy. I do a lot of that, articulation, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for the fast fiddle playing, if I can play, there are days when I can do this. And you see people
sorry.
Yeah, when people like Mark O'Connor and Stuart are masters of this. Just
I believe I've mentioned it on at least 2 other of these podcasts already within the first few. How I learned this from Darol Anger. If you want to play rhythmically accurately, use less bow. This blew my mind because I was, the classical thing, and it was always, use more bow, play louder. And I remember you telling me, and of course, you never. By the way, I learned so much from this guy. He never ever told me anything.
You had to figure it out.
I had to figure it out loud myself. No, he never told me. He led by example, is my point. And I would watch you do it, and you might have said something like, "Hey, you don't need all that, Bo. You got a microphone." And that was all I needed. And then I would just watch you, the intro to the solo on Night in Tunisia.
Night in Tunisia, yeah.
Right?
There's no way you could do that with it.
No, and that's such classic Darol moment, which I will play in the podcast right here. And
whoa, did I do that?
Wasn't that amazing? And but when I was able to stand next to you on stage night after night and watch you do this, and I'm at first, being the arrogant jerk that I am, when I first got there, he's not using any bow, jeez.
And then cheating.
I was like, God, Mr. Galamian would
he'd throw up.
Right? And then it started to dawn on me the brilliance of that, and now it's de rigueur and anybody who I teach, if you're trying to play rhythm, if rhythm is about accuracy, there's no room for that sloppiness when you're really setting up a tight groove and stuff like that. And the more bow you use, the less tight it's going to be. That's all there is to it.
Something recent, I don't know if we talked about this, when I was, but, if you want to legitimize it, we can talk about stage acting versus movie acting.
Right.
Stage acting, where you have to. Nobody's going to hear you.
Right.
Right. So you have to play like that.
Right. But now we have microphones.
So we can just.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
And let's circle back for a second to the horizontal versus vertical thing. So when you're playing, do you consciously think about, I'm going to bring more horizontal into this, or I'm just going to be like a total chop, or is it just constantly morphing back and forth? And is the reality of it that it's just this very flexible?
I'm not thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
It's sort of my MO, with this stuff, is just don't think about it, and that's why it's taken so long to develop it to anything. And I see people like you and Casey and these folks that are just they've taken off with it because they actually have put some thought into it.
Because we had to learn it.
Maybe so. Yeah, you got in the habit.
You invented it.
But the idea that you had to be able to, there's a certain amount of horizontality that has to happen if you're playing notes, right? Right. If you have a downstroke, it has to be somewhat horizontal.
Right. If you want to play harmonically.
So there's that, and really, it's just something that I probably started doing it very simple, just playing. Every time there was a chord change,
right, just to indicate a little bit of harmony.
Yeah.
Like Dexteriors, what's the
the
groove for that?
Yeah. can't believe I remember that.
It's been a long time, man.
Now the interesting thing was that it's alternating. That's
Yeah. Down, up. Okay. My quartet at Belmont, we were playing that, and the music that you graciously wrote down to try to notate this unnotatable thing that we're hearing. The violin's like,
what is this?
there's a lot of X's.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I would say, just listen really carefully.
Yeah. So and of course that could also be, it could just be played right horizontally. Right? Just you're just ghosting everything. That was one of your teaching innovations that I love, where you're going from horizontal to vertical. Gradually moving up the bow, which is just brilliant. That idea where you're starting here. You're kind of at the balance point. That's great. That's
it opened up it to, in my mind. All I've been doing, like with my stuff, the book and stuff, is to try to help people to figure out what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And because everybody basically just wants to be able to sound like Darol, and I remember from watching you do this for years that there was all of this stuff that was not a chop. But it was not this. It was somewhere in this wonderfully rich, fertile middle ground where all of this stuff was happening.
Right there.
Not there, not there. Right around there.
This is the spot where the bow starts talking back to you.
Yeah.
It starts communicating with you. It goes, oh no, I don't want to do that. Oh, but I like that. Keep doing that. It's like a cat,
Oh my God, that is so wonderful, man.
Yeah.
That's golden.
That's
golden.
Yeah. So that's.
I started calling it percussive bowing, just for lack of a better word, because it's like, is it a note or is it a noise? I can't tell.
Yeah,
it's somewhere in between.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
Right? Is it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Especially when you're just like damping.
Oh yeah.
And then you're not even making a tone. Because when we would jam, when we'd start jamming, like we would love to take tunes and just like let them devolve.
Yeah.
And just go wherever, just sort of like water that just sort of like left the stream bed and just sort of like started wandering out. Right? It's like, where's it going? I don't know. And we would start with a tune, and then somewhere somebody would be playing something, and more often than not you would be accompanying, as much as the best soloist in the
but my those years in high school of playing last chair second violin really did a great thing for me. Just that idea that I'm an orchestral player. I'm playing another line. I'm playing a support line.
Middle part, a support line. And this is the whole point of the podcast. Is the whole point of my life right now. is to hip string players to the fact that step back from that front of the stage, soloist, melodic plays.
Yeah.
And enjoy being a support player, enjoy being a rhythm player.
Yeah.
You know? And it's
really a blast.
more fun.
And you have a lot more control.
Yeah, exactly. You're driving the bus.
Yeah.
You know? And when we, often when we'd solo, you'd be like, you go, you would often play the baritone fiddle, so it's down there, it's in a support range, and letting everybody else take the lead stuff, and you would be just grooving away, and sometimes it was just a this in the back, and sometimes it would be a little bit of good, right? But it would come back to this, and sometimes it would devolve, as we were saying, it would just go into something completely different. We'd all just start making noise, and pretty soon we're all going like, right.
That's great. Yeah. A good 6 years of teaching. I only started in the last 6 years teaching a rhythm strings class, and that was incredibly instructive for myself. Yeah, having to figure out, okay, what are we calling this stuff? 2-beat? Is it four on the floor? Is it this? Is that? Is it is it 3-3-2? The mother rhythm thing, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, putting names on stuff is part of teaching because it's what's teachable is to put names on stuff.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
What else?
Yeah.
You can.
So much of it is so
teach
ephemeral.
by example, but if you're actually having to impart some information that can be tested, then then
it's going to be on the quiz.
It's like naming stuff.
You gotta have a name.
That's how name. So, but that was really interesting because trying to parse some of the stuff and really, when we were getting into, some of the most unexpected sources for really complicated rhythms, such as Swedish polskas, things like that. Where you're kind of there's whole thing like nested triplets that are going on, where you're doing it's really kind of some polskas. Polska, by the way, it comes from the polka. It's the precursor. It's actually more of a mazurka. But that came from Poland. I guess those guys were not that far away from Poland and Scandinavia, and all that stuff's mixed around.
Right.
It was really interesting, kind of delving into that sort of sub-classical music, semi-popular music that's been going on in Western Europe for as long as, longer really than what we think of as Western European art music.
Exactly. It was the folk music that a lot of classical music is based on.
Yeah.
Chopin and
the good melodies. Who had the good melodies? The bar guys.
Yeah.
The bar fiddlers.
Yeah.
So they took a lot of stuff, and so that was really interesting. Like delving into this kind of
show me
3/4 giant.
Turn me on to some
3/2.
new things I don't know. There's so much I don't know.
But the 9/8, for instance, where you go, you're thinking you can think. Well, the obvious way to organize 9/8 is the 3 groups of 3, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1.
Like a slip jig kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, like a slip jig. But you can also go 2s with one extra. Yeah, right. 1 2 3 4 1 1. Wow, that's an amazing thing. And
does that happen against the 3 thing, or is it?
Well, you have a 3 going. Somebody's doing a 3, but you're also, but not necessarily, because maybe there's only 2 instruments. There's a viola or a fiddle. They have violas and folk music over there. Amazing. Or like a nickel harpa, which is the giant stretched out violin with it's basically got keys like a hurdy-gurdy.
Right.
But you're playing it with this little short bow, so you're kind of dodging. It's Swedish. I don't know, the Swedes, they're good at that. They dodge stuff. But so you get these melodies that are that will start on the first 8th note, the second 8th note of the bar. So it's like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1.
Wow. Try to find the one in that
that kind of stuff is,
Wow.
in a way that, when I started hearing that stuff, that was sort of this, I kind of had the same responses you had to the Egberto, the Brazilian stuff.
Yeah.
And really, that's been, although I wasn't able to actually pull it off, physically for, it's taken me a few years, but that kind of stuff is just fascinates me. And, just things like, getting people playing 7, things like that. 7 is really kind of the easiest odd meter,
Yeah.
I think.
I always felt it was easier than 5 for some reason.
Yeah, 5, I always feel like I'm rushed.
Yeah.
Always like,
There's never enough time for 5.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, like,
7 is
okay. But 7,
yeah, 7 is its own world.
Yeah, and then there's the 4, yeah, and there's some good. There's a couple of good. There's Norwegian, very popular Norwegian tune called the Phoenix, which was written recently by a woman named Annbjørg Lien, who it's just a beautiful tune. And
is that on a Hardinger or on a regular?
she wrote it on a Hardanger. You can play it on anything, including instruments that we haven't invented yet, but which is but yeah. Down, 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 up, 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 down, down, down. 7, 8,
Yep.
and then going from that to 7, 4 is a beautiful thing, because then I would, we naturally want to choose. I think it's easier to choose 4, 3, right? So you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again, you got your 2 big downs and then down and up, right?
Yeah.
2 down, 1 down, down and up and down, down. Those
Yep.
kind of things. Just getting people to feel that first. Don't count. Just go wah, 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 wah. Right?
Right, yep.
Our emotions.
Yes. Steps.
Steps for sure. All the Balkan stuff. Right? It's all based on.
Yeah.
Right. Short, short, long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Yeah. That stuff is that. Getting people to feel the stuff first was really a great exercise for me personally.
Yeah.
And and then just those tricks that how are you going to chop that? How's that going to get chopped?
Yeah.
And especially like things like even it was like such as like 6/8, for instance, where you're going you have to start. Usually the rule is down bows are downbeats, up bows are upbeats, but in a 6/8 situation, you have to start with an up stroke so that you get the backbeat on the downstroke, right? So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. So you're starting. So those little tricks, all kind of feed into things. It's really fun, actually.
Yeah. You mentioned something a second ago. Is feeling it as opposed to like counting it. Mm-hmm. And that you have to feel it, and this idea of either dancing, using steps or something.
Yeah.
But that change between using our brains to kind of figure it out and count, or that part of our brain that does that, and the other rest of our body from here down that's feeling rhythm. And the more I teach it, the more I realize that I can explain it to you from today till tomorrow.
Yeah.
But until you put it in your body, until you move to it, you're just never gonna get it because it's not up here.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you can't. I mean, the brain is important just to be able to figure out how to feel it.
Right.
Sometimes you have to figure that out.
Right.
What moves am I gonna make in order to do that? So it's
Right.
part of it, but ultimately.
At some point in the process, it has to get into your body.
It has to be
physically.
It has to
you
become
have to be
music, and
right.
And that's
right.
So
and I think a lot of people are put off by odd meters because it seems so mathy or something, and it's really just a matter of like that da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like, it's in your arms or in your legs.
or like just the rotation of the spine.
Right.
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 That's a great one too.
Yep.
A lot of times I've been telling people that well if you don't want to pound, you don't want to stomp your foot, you don't want to and you don't want to be obvious, there's you can just do slight rotation, and that's a great thing. You can do that without people really noticing what's going on. In fact, I'm doing that and I'm swimming the backstroke at the same time, and you don't even notice what's going on. I'm also driving a car, and I'm solving all kinds of like orbital problems right now. You don't even know. I don't even know it.
And this is how we entertain ourselves on the road. This
So true.
is
Yeah.
how we get through the gig.
So true. What's on the list?
I know what's on the list. I know what's on the list. It's usually the last segment of the show. I don't know. We're ready to wrap it, but we can do it here, and then
we'll do others.
We'll wrap it when we're getting ready.
Yeah. God damn it.
But this is a part of the show that I call Not My Gig.
Okay.
Based on the Wait, Don't Tell Me, Not My Job. In which, as my guest, something that hopefully they know nothing about. And, and Darol Anger, you're, off on my music, that you would like print up parts back in Turtle Island, and you would print them up at home, and then you would hand me a part, and we always often have D Anger up on the top. And I was like, Danger? What? We're going to ask you how much you know about Nick Danger.
Oh!
From the Fireside Theater
goodness.
character. And
He's ready for anything. He's Nick Danger, Third Eye.
I want to order a pizza to go and no anchovies.
No anchovies? You've got the wrong man. I spelled my name Danger.
so there you go. What? I spelled my name Danger. So we're going to ask you how much you know about Nick Danger. So, one of Danger's criminal nemesis is described as a little man and a slimy weasel based on Dashiell Hammett's Joe Cairo, as portrayed by Peter Lorre in the 1941 film The Maltese Falcon. What was his name, his evil nemesis? Was it A, Bill Weevil, B, Sam Salamander, or C, Rocky Rococo?
I believe it was Rocky Rococo.
You are absolutely right, my friend. I saw that glimmer of recognition at the mention.
Oh, I could have been, Sam. What's the next one?
Okay. True or false? 50-50 shot on this
Yes.
one. Danger's old college flame, Betty Jo Bielowski, uses several aliases. Melanie Haber, Audrey Farber, and Susan Underhill. But, quote, everyone knew her as Nancy. True or false? Rococo's and Nancy's names are a gag based on the Beatles song Back in the USSR.
True or false? False.
You are right. It is.
I just went through the
the
whole
whole
darn
time.
song.
The entire lyric. Everyone knew her as Nancy. It was from Rocky Raccoon.
Yes, that's it.
And
Had a
that's
ring. of
the Rocky
familiarity.
Rococo reference.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your third
So intense.
question. You can get a perfect score with this one, and if you were listening carefully, you might have caught it. Nick Danger was often announced by the narrator as Nick Danger, Corrective Detective. Or B, Nick Danger, Third Eye. Or C, Nick Danger, Cop's Cop.
Third nostril.
It was the third nostril, wasn't it? Well, you have a perfect
well, that was
score.
those,
No,
yeah. Yeah, I was a big fan of those guys, even though
Yeah.
I could never understand anything after about the first 5 minutes. I was completely overwhelmed.
Dude, man, we could
We could
ramble
go
on for a long time, and after we turn the cameras off, we will.
Yeah.
but what a joy to have you
yeah.
here, man.
Oh, Trace, it's just
My brother.
so great to be here. Yeah, man. All right. Well, yeah, I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
to have you over
Thank
to
you.
my little school.
Yeah, because
soon.
Darol now lives in Nashville. We are lucky enough to have him here, and that's why. And it's post-pandemic now. We're all vaxxed up.
Yeah.
And we're
Vaxxed up
doing
and
the
ready to go.
anti-Zoom moose.
Snooze.
We're doing
I love
the
it. That's great.
Moose podcast.
Snooze.
So there you have it,
Okay.
folks. Darol Enger, straight from the horse's mouth, the chop, and then some.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
brother.
having me, man.